Okay. So we're going to answer the reader's questions about what to pick next. I think this is the biggest dilemma that any reader has. Uh, whenever your book is going to end, the next question is, what do I pick up next? So let's see how we pick up books. Please feel free to share your ways of picking a book. How do you pick up your next read? How do you decide who to trust? Whether you go for Amazon reviews, whether you go for friends reviews. So let me know how you pick up the book. Right?
You can get put up in the chat box. Everybody,
Put it on the chat box. Yeah.
just put up the chat box.
So let's dive in. There's a very stupid meme which says, buying books and reading books are two different hobbies. I'm sure anybody who is into books would know that, you end up buying a lot of books, but you don't end up reading all of them, right? So I've realized this, and this is true for me as well. Half of my book rack are the book, is filled with the books that I have bought, but I haven't touched yet, and I keep waiting for an opportunity to. I do believe that life is too short to spend on reading bad books. Have you guys realized? Have you guys ever come across a situation wherein you go by a reference, a very trusted reference? You pick up a book. Everybody is praising the book. Everybody is gaga about the book. You somehow don't get hooked to it. Life is too short to read a bad book. If you don't like it, it's okay. To not like books that are written. It's okay to discard a book and pick up the next one, because there are only so many books that you can read in your lifetime. You will never be able to read all of them, right? So it is okay to discard the ones that you're not getting hooked to. It is okay to pick up the next book. It is okay to not complete a book. It is to not finish a book. So I know that there's a myth about you must pick up a book and you must finish a book, and you feel that you might also feel that it is I mean, am I audible, Akshay?
A little louder, Bhavini, that would be amazing.
Okay, I'm not sure if that has something to do with my audio. Let me put in my.
Like, clearly we can hear you, no problem, continue.
Oh, okay. So so it is not mandatory to complete a book. If you pick one, it is absolutely okay to discard it. Do you come across this when you in love with a book, and you know that you just have 5 more pages to read, and you feel that even before the book is over, you start missing the book. You start panicking. Like, I have a mini panic attack, thinking about what am I going to do next, what am I going to read next, because we start living the books when we start reading. When you pick up a great book, you start living it. You become a part of the book, and that's your world for the next couple of days. So yeah, this is again something that readers dread. This is again something that I was talking about. Ever happened to you reading a bestseller? You come across a bestseller, everybody is yeah, Krita, Harry Potter. So everybody is all gaga about a book. It's an international bestseller, sold over 2 million copies. Everybody is talking it. Every talk in the town is about that book. And you pick it up based on the references from your friends, based on the reviews that you see on Amazon, and you realize that you're just not enjoying it, or maybe you're just not getting it. This happened. I'll share a live example with you. This happened with me with lean startups. Right, I run a startup, so that's a different story altogether. But everybody in this startup ecosystem talks about lean startup. It talks about it talks about strategies from lean startup. It talks about different blogs that are written on the book. It talks about different blogs that are arguing against the book, like against the philosophies of the book. And I just felt like I just didn't get it. I just didn't enjoy that. So I picked it up, I read 20 pages, and I dropped it. A week later, I had somebody put up a text in the group about a blog that is that was arguing against the book, against the philosophies of book. And I just felt that maybe I am dumb, I'm not getting it, let me try it again. I picked up again 25 pages, I kept all my patience, and then I realized that it is okay to let go. It is just not meant for me. Maybe even if the entire world says that they're all gaga about the book, you might not enjoy it, and it is okay. So that's a classic example. There's one more example that I landed on: Deep Work. Right, that's again a book that's like international bestseller. Everybody is talking about it, everybody is talking about that and putting emphasis on how important it is to cut yourself and do the deep work thing. I found that book very repetitive. It talks about it's with all due respect to the author, maybe I have read a lot of those books to feel this way. Maybe I have read similar content in other books. So when you don't understand a book, or you don't enjoy a book, it is okay. There might be other reasons. It necessarily not be the you in a wrong place. Okay, this is something that I enjoy. Talk is cheap, show me your book rack. You'll find a lot of people talking about different things, talking about big things, talking, making you feel that maybe you don't know enough. But this is one of the favorite quotes that I've come across. Show me your book rack. I really, but that was on a light note. But I really enjoy knowing what other people are reading, because that's one of the ways I pick up my next reads. I really need to know what the person's taste is, and if it aligns with mine, so that it becomes easier. It saves a lot of time, guys. It saves a lot of time in deciding what to pick, reading wrong books, dropping the books halfway. I would rather ask somebody I really trust in terms of tastes of book, and pick it up. So I really like to see people's book rack, because that gives me my next read, that gives me an idea about what kind of a person he or she is. And it really gives me a great reason to start a conversation. At BNI, we can't disassociate ourselves with the philosophies, from the philosophies of BNI. And I feel books has been a great icebreaker for me in all my conversations. So it automatically becomes easier for me to crack a conversation with somebody who is a reader. So regardless of the genre, because everybody has a different taste, but books become a common binding agent. These are, so I'll come up with my best picks: books that have left a lasting impact on me, books that I can talk about, books that I really enjoyed reading and I feel would really add value to whoever reads it. The most amazing book that I have ever come across is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Right? This is a book. I feel that financial literacy is something which is not taught in our country, or in most of the countries for that matter. And kids don't really have the discipline of personal finance. So yeah, and I wish I would have picked up this book when I was 15 or under 15, because that's when you start shaping your habits about your discipline about money, your discipline about saving, your discipline about spending, your entire idea about money comes, that's when you're building. So I think this is something that I would really recommend you to pick if you have not already picked it. A good audiobook version is also available now on Audible for this, if you are the kinds who would want to, like me, who would want to listen to self-help books while working out or while driving. So this is, and the underlying philosophy of the what would you prefer audiobook. Okay, I'm going to take all the questions later, but I'll come to all the questions, we have time. Right? So philosophy is the poor and middle class work for money, but the rich have money work for them. And this book gives a lot of it gives a lot of examples to highlight this philosophy, and it keeps explaining the same philosophy again and again. Genre is again personal finance, business strategy, and Okay, so I have mixed all different genres of books that I have tried. There are so many genres that I have not tried. There's so many books that I have not tried, but I'll only cover the ones that I have read and I've liked. Mythological fiction. Shiva's trilogy was the first mythological fiction I ever picked up. I had never read mythological fiction before that, and I never knew I would like it. I just picked it up because a friend left it at my place when she had bought it for herself. And I just picked up to check, and I really got hooked to it, and I finished all the three books. Then because she had bought the set, and I really liked it. It's really well written. It gives you the modern of Shiva. uh, it is a page turner. It is a page turner. However, I feel Melu. So when you read this book, the best thing about this trilogy is when you read Melua, it describes a world that seems perfect to you. You feel that okay, this is the way people should live. This is the way an ideal world should work like. And then you reach the second version, the second book, and then you feel no, there were so many flaws in the first system, and this is the ideal system. This is how it should work. And by the time you reach the third system, the third book, Nagas, that's when you realize that no, there has been flaws. There's nothing like a perfect society. There's nothing like a perfect place. There's nothing like a perfect way of living. Everybody's freedom, everybody's right to live the way they want to live is the ultimate. So it's described in such a beautiful way that while you're reading it, you'll feel that that is the perfect world. So yeah, that was my first encounter with mythological fiction, and I really loved it. And I picked up a couple of other mythological fictions after that because I really got hooked to it. The second one is Asura. If I were to rate Meluha or any other book from Shiva's trilogy and Asura, I would pick up Asura any day. It completely changed the way I was brought in. I had only seen one version of Ramayana. Okay, I was illiterate in terms of knowing about Ramayana and how things happen. So mythology, in terms of mythology, my only knowledge was limited to watching Ramayana and Mahabharata on the TV. So when I picked these up, I saw so many different. I saw the same story from so many different perspectives. Asura is a book which is narrated from the point of view of the Dhobi. You remember Bhadra? Bhadra is a character in Ramayana, a very small character of Dhobi. And this entire version of Ramayana is from the Dhobi's point of view. And he was very close to Ravan, and this entire story that was never told. It is a fiction, right? But the timeline matches perfectly with Ramayana, and it matches perfectly. The sequence of events really match well, and it is a unput downable book. It will completely, the warning is you will become a big fan of Ravan after reading this. So this is something, if you're fond of mythological fiction, if you want to give it a try. Yes, Ram, Sita, and even this it is again, if I talk about Amish again, Amish had done a great job as far as I'm concerned. I felt Shiva's trilogy was way better than the Ramchandra series by Amish. But yeah, this is something that you must try if you want to try mythological fiction. This is again business and strategy. I'm mostly a non-fiction reader, so I read a lot of non-fiction books. I've tried to sandwich it between fiction and non-fiction so that it doesn't become boring for those who are not into this genre. So Build to Sell is again a book which is guys, I'll share this PPT with you because I have also taken all the reviews from Amazon, so that if that is something that you consider, you can consider, you can check the reviews right on the slides. I'll share the slides with you. So this is again a book which is not talked about a lot. Of course, it's a best-selling book, but even if you talk about other books like Eat That Frog and other business classics, this hasn't reached there. It's a less talked about book, but an excellent book which talks about how to make your business independent of you. Of course, it talks about build to sell, but it doesn't essentially mean you work on a business like you to sell it, but you make your business independent of you, wherein it is not dependent on you. You create that value in your business that people see and would want to pay for it. You don't necessarily want to sell the business, but you create a business wherein apart from you, others also see value in the business. So it is fiction, but you would not it is written in the way of a fiction so that it's easy for you to understand and absorb. But it is, I would qualify it as a completely strongly business strategy book. And yeah, and I have mentioned the link for the ebook version, right? I've mentioned all the Kindle links here. So if you guys want to pick up anything from this, you can pick it up. So this is again a book that really helped me, and I use a lot of strategies from this book to work on my business. And when you read the story in a fictional way, you would realize that there's so many small mistakes that we make day in day out, not realizing that they are harming our business than doing good. And there were so many takeaways from the book, and I highly recommend you guys to pick this up if you have not tried it. Essentialism. This is a book that I picked up in my 30 seconds in the BNI meeting. I am really impressed with this book because it takes away a lot of clutter from your life. There's a we keep saying things like, I don't have time to do this, but if I had, I would do this. So a lot of time we feel that these 24 hours that we have are not enough for us. We are unable to do a lot of things that we want to do in these 24 hours. But this book talks about an underlining philosophy, is philosophy of, if the answer to anything is not a definite yes, just say no. It is okay to say no. Just because you are invited to something, you don't really need to show up. If you, just because you are invited to a party, you don't, it's okay to skip it. Just because you're invited to a talk show, it's okay to skip it. In bigger scheme of things, if you think about things that you have missed doing, are would have things that you have done have not really contributed so much to you. So this book really talks about, of course I'll share the presentation after the talk. So so this book is more, it's not about time management, it's basically about prioritizing things. It talks about how can you prioritize what you want and then work accordingly. If you keep saying yes to things that are not important, you are automatically saying no to things that are less, you are no to things that are important to you, right? So every minute that you take away for things that are less important, you are taking away that time from things that are important to you. So you will miss important things while doing unimportant things in your life. And this book gives so many examples, and it makes it easy, and it gives so many real life examples for you to kind of absorb. And it really talks about the virtue of saying no. I know it's difficult. It's the most difficult thing that I have come across after the stage fear or presentation fear is the fear of saying no. It's difficult to say no, but this book really helped me to make that as my strength, and I'm still working on it, of course. But this I have found this really helpful. Atomic Habits. We started talking about this book even before we started the presentation. So it is one of the books that I have again counter to what Akshay said, that if you read a lot of self-help books, you might confuse yourself. I completely agree, and I have been in that phase wherein I've read a lot of it and then I don't know what to follow. But at the same time, I also feel that you got to try at least a couple of them to find out your best match. A book that I feel is perfect for me might not be perfect for you, because of the kind of people we are different people, and different things contribute to our success and our building our habits. So I feel this book has a lot of takeaways in terms of how to develop the right habit. It talks about tricks and ways of developing habit. So this is something that I really found helpful. However, I found found the audiobook version of this book much better than reading the book, because when you read a self-help book, and when you read a couple of them, it becomes repetitive, because they all talk about essentially the same thing, and it keeps talking about how to develop a habit, how important it is, how to sandwich the habit between two daily tasks so that you don't miss it. So this book really worked great for me when I worked out. So this was my workout partner. I'll just plug it in, I'll work out and then come back and pause it. So it's a short read of it's a short audio book of 5 hours, roughly 5-6 hours or so. So it really helped me a lot. I picked up some points and I tried to incorporate it in my life. But yeah, so that's what and it also talks about, there's one very important takeaway from this book for me, which said it is important to show up. For example, it was talking, this was an example given for your workout habits. So you people drop this habit of going to the gym. You feel like, okay, I'll not go today, okay, I'm late today, let's not go. So it gave an example of, even if you're late, even if you just have 10 minutes, just show up, go there, sit and come back, even if you don't. So showing your intentions and your actions backing the intention is more important than finishing it. That's so this book gives a lot of emphasis on intentions and actions backing intentions, rather than completing the entire task. You might have 1 hour of workout in your schedule, you might be late by half an hour, but just show up, dress up, show up, be there, come back, just do 10 push-ups, come back, just run for 15 minutes, come back, just get on the treadmill and come back, or just go sit there and come back. But get dressing up, taking that sitting in a car, driving there and sitting and reaching there and coming back is your is the commitment that your habit requires, rather than going there and doing the actual work. And slowly you'll realize that when you go there, you reach there, you might as well work out. So those are the kind of tips that the book shares. Ayn Rand. Okay, if I have to swear by one book that I live by, I would rather talk about the author here and not the book, because it's so I don't know how many of you have read Ayn Rand, but it's a completely different philosophy of objectivism. If you look at the number of reviews that the book has, it's like whooping 4,500. Uh, it is a fiction, but I would not call it a fiction. It's basically uh, a non-fiction, which is it is basically a philosophy which is shared in a way of fiction. It's a story just to keep you gripping, just to keep you hooked to a difficult philosophy. Uh, Very difficult to live by in present times, and you feel frustrated if you really get into it, because you then find a problem with everything around you. But it's an amazing read. It talks I was asked about why she wrote this book. She's a very strong she's a very strong believer of. She said, my philosophy in essence is a concept of man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productivity, achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as he is only absolute. She doesn't talk about the philosophy. She doesn't say that she is teaching a philosophy. She has basically created a world, an ideal world book for a couple of characters in the book, but it describes good, bad and ugly of the entire world. How you would do things that you would have not thought about, the reason for the way the things are. Uh, she really brings it on the table, and I think this is something to read and experience rather than discuss. When I read it for the first time, I really feel that I should have read it when I was 17, 18, because that's the time when you really pick up your life philosophies. But I read it late. So if you after reading this, I had this urge of trying to know more about her, trying to know more about the book, about the philosophy, and I landed on a lot of essay books by her. I landed on a lot of other talk shows, her interviews. There's something called Ayn Rand Academy, and they run a Facebook page as well. They run a Facebook page as well. You can have you can put in your questions, you can discuss the book. I think one of the things that a reader dies to have is an experience wherein you can go and talk to your author, ask her or him about why did she say something, why did this happen in the book, why not this, what was the idea behind this kind of content, what was the idea behind this story, what was the idea behind this character, or you want to know more about the character, what happened to the character after the book, after the book ended. So Ayn Rand Institute is a place wherein people discuss her work, people talk about it, people really debate on it. So I think if somebody is somebody really likes Ayn Rand, you might want to go check out the blogs and check out the the institute on and their Facebook page. Another book that I couldn't go without mentioning is Fountainhead, again by Ayn Rand. Fountainhead was the came out first, and then Howard Rock. Yes, Fountainhead came out first, and then the Atlas Shrugged happened. Uh, in one sentence, I would just say that Ayn Rand is to be absorbed and not to be read. This is you go in a different world for a very long time. Yes, it's a Bible for all architects. Even if you're not an architect, when you read this, you want to become an architect. It's like you might just change your profession after reading this. So it's something to absorb and live by. It is not a book. It's not a book. Book is a very short term, small term to describe this. Yes, it makes you stop and think about everything in a different way. You start questioning everything around you. You start putting a logic to everything around you, and you start doubting as well a lot of it. But I really loved it, and I try to live by it. This is a light read, a romantic fiction. I'm not into romantic fiction at all, I would say. But this was a book which was recommended by a very close friend, and I really trust her with her judgment. So I picked it up. This is probably the only romantic fiction that I have read, and it is different. It is different. Mills and Boons, I've never read Mills and Boons in my life. So, but this is a different kind of book. It's a different kind of book. But it would qualify to be a romantic fiction, but it's a story in itself. At different points in the book, you will find yourself smiling, grinning like a monkey to on the book, crying, sad, all, and it's a tiny read. It's around 100 pages. So it's a tiny read, but you will start missing the book even before you're done. You would just want to pick up something else, something else which is similar to it, but I haven't found anything which is similar to this. And I really loved this book. So the only book that made it to the list from romantic fiction genre. And if you see, there are some 500, again, not very well known book, so it is very understated. But I know you would really, if you want to sandwich something between two non-fictions or something, you can just pick it up. You can pick it up. It's a very light read and amazing. It'll make you feel light, good, happy. Okay, this is a comedy. I don't know. I know it's some stupid, small things, funny, silly things that made it to the list. This is one of them. Light comedy, absolutely light read, a chill pill book wherein you want to just freshen up. Uh, and this can work as a sandwich between two heavy reads. You definitely need a sandwich between two books of Ayn Rand. You cannot read it back to back. You'll go crazy, you'll be frustrated at the end of it, and you'll find yourself lonely to a great extent if you overdo it. So yeah, this is like opposite of Ayn Rand. uh, uh, yeah, this can work. I can compare it to the Big Bang Theory. It'll work as a Big Bang Theory of the book world. So easy go book wherein some crack jokes, great sarcasm. So yeah, I picked it up as a sandwich between two heavy reads, and it worked great. Last but not the least on my list is no, there's one more, I think. Yeah, Lady, You're Not a Man. So I landed on the book because again one of my friends recommended it, Apurva Purohit. This is non-fiction. This is non-fiction, and she talks about her life, and she talks about different examples, different things that she came across. When she was heading, she's the CEO of My FM. So yeah, it's a unique combination of reality and humor. She talks about challenges that she faced. She talks about sexism that she faced. She talks about bias statements that she faced. She talks about how the society saw her differently. And but it's an amazing book. For it gives you a lot of quick tips on how to handle such sexist statements and the how to handle work better. It also talks, I don't know if you guys have seen Indira Nui's a quick interview clip that was viral, wherein she talks about you can't have it all. So this book essentially talks about the same thing. She gives her real life examples, and she talks about how in the quest of trying to have it all, most it talks about working women, we end up sacrificing, we end up setting such high benchmarks for ourselves, and we end up being frustrated. We feel that asking for help is bad. We feel that we'll do it all, we'll have it all. But this book again reiterates the same thing that Indira Nui talks about. You need to disassociate yourself with, you need to stop taking it so personally. You need to go ask for help. So this book really and I read this book even before I watched the interview with Indira Nui. So it really had a great impact, because I was one of those control freaks trying to do it all, trying to have it all. But this really made me stop, pause and think, and look at things differently. This feeling when you finish reading an amazing book, oh no, you come up. So I felt this when I was done with Ayn Rand's book. And you feel like, oh god, you back to reality, you back to the world that you were in, because you are completely in a different world. And this happens with most of good books. When you read a great book, you are in that world. Your reality changes for those hours. You create a world around you that you really enjoy, you're living it, and you forget about the realities for for the time that you're reading. So you know this is that painful phase wherein you kicked out of your world of book. And what is your next question after seeing this, after realizing that you are out of the world, you're out of your amazing world of books? Your next question is, what do I read next, isn't it? So this entire presentation was just to answer this question.